What's up, guys? Our Wrestling Podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious, along with Just the Total Package, and Craig the British Bulldog, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Today's topic, Greatest Wrestling Storylines, Part 2. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, can you give us a follow on Instagram at O.W.P 2019 or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast? Jess, it was so fun. We're gonna do it again
and go, oh, dude. Let me shoot you straight right now. You know, the bloodline straight up is like, see, you can listen to other stupid people, or you can listen to us talk about retro
Very
stuff.
aggressive. Very aggressive.
And the stuff that excited you when you were a kid, and we're talking about it. And we're going to talk about the greatest storylines part. The first one I did a little bit structured.
I almost did.
So let's go over the guidelines. I disqualified the Mega Power storyline because that's obvious.
What?
I disqualified the Bloodline storyline because that's obvious. And the first three storylines that we covered in the first one that we can't repeat, obviously, are Owen versus Brett, Sting versus the NWO, and Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth and their amazing journey over fucking like 8 years or something like that we covered. So now I wrote those into the topic the first time. Now I'm going to open up the room and let everybody, we're going to go round table style like we've done before. And we're going to talk about our favorite storylines. So we're going to go like, we'll start with Dave, Craig, and me, and we're just going to go around the room and give what we thought were our favorite storylines, especially from growing up, but even current product. If you have something from current product, it's fine. Totally fine. Not Craig. It's not fine if Craig does that, but everybody else is fine. Pardon me?
No, it's I think I was just saying before you got a little crazy with or watch stupid podcasts. I was like, we had so much fun doing the storyline EP before that we decided to do it again and take it into a more free-form style. Gosh, it's funny because when you start to think about storylines, the ones that we talked about were so emboldened and so they were truly written and they truly went a certain way, and I think they were very controlled in hindsight. But one that I think has a little bit more play, and again, I'm a homer for this, but I think of the storyline of Kurt Angle with Stone Cold Steve Austin, when they're supposed to be doing heelish work, and Kurt Angle's more of like that yucky yuck, good old boy, like I'm gonna go along with what Steve says, wear the little cowboy hat, and eventually that tears off into a massive feud with milk trucks into the ring and pushing the ring back 3 feet and dumping just gallons upon gallons of milk on each other. And
that's true. And Angle winning the title, being put on everyone's shoulder and celebrating like when he wins the title, like
when he wins the title.
Austin. Yeah.
I think that storyline gets, I don't want to say it gets missed because it was incredible and it was one of the greatest eras of wrestling with Stone Cold later on. But I think Kurt Angle has so many great storylines. First of all, I mean,
wow, Dave. So you just came right out of the gate with your first offering.
Yeah, to me it's that Stone Cold.
The reason why I think it got buried was because the Invasion storyline was so shitty. I really think that the Invasion wasn't so shitty. I think that Austin and Angle is classic storytelling, and they would have hit a home run with it, no problem. But because they clouded it up that whole time with the Invasion storyline, and ECW, WCW, and it didn't fucking hit well. I think that's the only reason why it was buried. But that's a really fucking good offering.
I like Savage. Macho Man Savage was very reluctant to use Liz in his angles.
Where it's going.
But Savage and Flair for Mania.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Mania 8. Like
so good.
You want to talk about a dude that hid his wife backstage and hid Elizabeth backstage. And yes, he did use her for WrestleMania 5 with Hogan, especially, and then the Mega Powers,
Sure.
etc. But to have Flair use her as like basically the angle was like Flair used like
They
the
used to
spread of
date,
him
right? Yeah.
hanging and photos of her with the pool and skimpy bikinis. It was
It wa-
just so like holy shit.
And I think you.
Um,
And what's funny, just to kind of explain it, because we find Elizabeth so wholesome, Craig. It's skimpy for her, but it's full
Yeah.
like bottom covered. It's just a bikini. It's
Yeah.
it's very tasteful. You
Yeah.
know, but
And he
it-
promised to give more, which he never did. Like Flair promised to reveal more at Mania, which he
Because
never
lost.
did. Yeah,
He lost to Savage. Yeah.
but he
Yeah.
never like. But it was such like a. It was so impactful, and we believed it. It was like, what the fuck? And it
Yeah.
worked with like. It was the
That's a
first
good
angle
one.
where you saw it in the WWF magazine. We're like, whoa, why?
they
is
actually put the
Flair-"
spread out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Craig, can I ask you
So-
something? Do you remember, by the way, on this? When they retracted it and said that was actually a doctored photo, and they showed the picture with Macho in the photo later.
I
Was
think
that
it was
after?
They
after-
did say it was doctored,
yeah.
wasn't it?
It was after
Yeah.
Savage beat him, I think, for the title. Then they had
Yeah.
to come
So
forward and be like,
so Jess and Craig, I got to ask you because that's such a great pick.
It
Craig. I
wasn't
love it.
doctored though. It was.
They
it
were
was
probably just
Flair
they were
hanging
probably
with-
they were probably just
yeah,
together.
they
and they
did
took the
both
photos.
shoots, right? It wasn't doctored. They did both shoots
Yeah.
on purpose. The photos that they ended up showing was not of Savage and Elizabeth like 5 years earlier. It was like current. Like so
It was like
Yeah.
current.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's kind of interesting about that whole thing is I wonder if like if we do this, brother, then we have to make it a statement later that these were doctored. And he had like had that story. I wonder
he
if
was
Macho like,
very
fucking
protective
fuck
of
me.
her. Like, yes,
yeah.
We are
I wonder-
not
I
gonna
wonder-
do a
I wonder
storyline with
if-
Flair.
If we do this, if we do this,
I'm
then
the good
we
guy.
gotta do it like this,
Yeah.
or we're not doing it.
But then culminating with like the kiss and the slap and just the
And Craig,
entire
you know what?
buildup.
And by the way, Craig, this storyline led to Randy Savage's second WWF title.
It did.
So that's
it sure
awesome.
did.
Great.
Yeah. Where and by the way, what a fantastic match. I mean, I know we're not talking about matches, but that
Oh,
match.
yeah.
Oh,
It's one of the
What
WrestleMania
about
8
me?
matches.
What about me?
Yeah. She slaps him and he's bleeding or whatever. It's awesome.
and Macho with the
Uh,
bad ankle from the figure four and still being
Oh,
able to hop around and beat
dude.
him and ugh.
Oh, look at this! Elizabeth went right after Flair, and now it's mayhem! History has been made here in the Hoosier Dome! As once again, the Macho Man Randy Savage has regained the World Wrestling Federation Championship!
So freaking good. It was
So
incredible.
oh, man, I'm gonna do Ted DiBiase versus Virgil.
Whoa, I love it. I fucking
Whoa.
love
And
it.
I
Jess.
will never
Whoa.
forget, like in the end of 1990 / beginning of 91, which started with the Rhodes. So Dustin Rhodes actually debuted for the first time in wrestling on WWF television in 91. They recognized him. DiBiase pulled him out of the crowd or whatever, and it was Dustin Rhodes, Dusty's son. And it was after he bought Sapphire, so they continued the DiBiase and Dusty Rhodes feud. And Dustin Rhodes debuted in late 1990 and then
Mhm.
ended up at the Royal Rumble 91. It was a tag match, Dusty Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes against Flair, against DiBiase and Virgil. But also before that, they were doing vignettes where DiBiase was like, he feuded with Kerry Von Erich. And he was like, we're at a ranch right now, and I'm a real rancher and all that stuff. And Kerry Von Erich, you're a sloppy poor man's rancher, and I own tons of ranches. And he stepped in manure and he's like, Virgil, get over here. Bring the manure off my shoe. And finally you saw Virgil just going like, and he would go down to clean his shoe, and they slowly bled it for like a month or two. And then the tag match that they had at Royal Rumble with the Rhodes, Dusty and Dustin against Virgil and DiBiase, they were leading up the entire time where Virgil was having enough. You saw him, like, and then DiBiase would lick it in. Virgil, are you hesitating? Do you not forget what I did with your family? How I saved your family? How I gave your family money? Like, and just totally, and they really played off the I got to be very careful here about how I tread, but the upper class against the lower class, and they really played
Yeah.
on it hard. And then
It
when
was
Virgil at
literally
the end,
Ted DiBiase said everybody's got a price, and he felt like he
yes,
had
and
paid
so
for
then you
Virgil
realize that the
services. Yeah.
whole reason why Virgil was DiBiase's bodyguard was because DiBiase held something over his head because Virgil's family needed money, and all those years DiBiase was giving Virgil's family, "Do you want me to take money away from your mom?" No, and he would tease him up into it too. "Do you want me to cut your money off, Virgil?" And he'd be like, "No, sir." And he would just go back to doing but you could tell weeks leading up, Virgil was getting sick and tired of it, and then finally at the end of the match, DiBiase ends up rolling up Virgil fucks something up and gets thrown outside the ring, and DiBiase beats the shit out of him, throws him outside the ring, and pins Dusty himself, and then gets up and he's like, "Get in here." He's like, "I just saved this match. Get in here." And it was at the end of the Royal Rumble match or whatever. And he was like, he grabbed the $1 million belt and he threw the belt and he gets on the phone. He's like, "I want you to get down and I want you to pick this belt up and put it around my waist."
That's
And like
right.
Virgil starts like fighting. He just shakes his head. No, he's like, "Virgil, you want me to take money away from your family? Do you remember what I did with your mother?" And then Virgil broke down and he grabbed the belt and like he's like, "Put it around my waist." And he puts it around his waist and does the evil lifestyle, yeah, like that. And then he's like, "That's what I told all of you. You all have a price." And as he was doing the thing, you saw Virgil fucking muster up the courage and fucking grabs $1 million belt before he puts it on his waist and hits him right in the face. And the whole place went
Blew up.
insane.
That's right. That's right. Like I always say, everybody's got a price. Oh, he did it! Listen to this compassionate crowd in Lubbock. I love it! And take it all back, Virgil. Look at the look on him.
Like
They were
if you go back
waiting
and
for
watch
it.
the Royal Rumble 91 in that match, that place went insane. And they bled it out. They had a match at WrestleMania 7, which Piper was in Virgil's corner because they were trying to build Virgil's character because they knew he wasn't good on the mic. So Vince was like, "Let's put Piper with him." And Piper was like, "Come on, man. You're your own man. You're your own man." And it was a whole thing. They built up to it or whatever. And
I
he
remember
beat
that.
DiBiase by countout, but didn't win the $1 million belt. And then 5 months later, at SummerSlam 91, he finally beats DiBiase for the $1 million title. And that like 6-7 month storyline was fucking great. I loved that storyline. I thought it
forgot
was
all
fucking
about
great.
that.
You can say
Incredible
what you
stuff.
want about Virgil. Virgil went on to become a mid-card prelim afterwards or whatever, but it doesn't matter. That storyline is what Vince and the WWF was so good at back in the day, and it makes my list because it was so excellent. I loved
Yeah.
it. I absolutely
Well
loved
done.
That's it's such a it's kind of a forgotten gem, but it's what everybody wanted. It's what everybody wanted to happen in some way, shape, or form. Somebody has to give Ted DiBiase his comeuppance. Not just because you have a ton of money doesn't make you better than everybody else, and that's the storyline that he was portraying. And somebody has to take him out. And when it finally happens, especially on that level, where Virgil was with him for years as like
Yeah.
his confidant, his bodyguard,
Since 87.
whatever you want to call it, right? Virgil was always there. And to see that breakup, I mean, I think, I don't know if Virgil pushed it or if DiBiase pushed it, but somebody back there at that point was, we have to have a turn eventually, right, on each other. We have to do something. And it's unfortunate because I think Virgil wasn't prepared ring wise for that. He was great as a manager. He can hit all his spots as a manager, but in the ring is a completely different aspect. So I thought the blow off was kind of a little bit underwhelming, but the storyline was hot on take. So that's a good one, Jess. I forgot.
Greg,
all
what's
about that.
you want to start the second round?
Sure.
We have 2 rounds.
Or is it the second? Yeah, it is second.
Yeah, second. Yeah, for sure.
Did Dave give his?
No,
Yes.
you go. Yeah, I get my first. Yeah, Kurt Angle. Remember?
Yes, of course. Sorry. I think Rick Rude and Jake Roberts was wonderful to me.
Oh fuck, that's great. God damn it.
Yes,
God
with
damn
Jake's
it,
wife,
that's good.
right?
You want to talk
Yeah.
about like there's
God, that's
nothing
good.
better than like including women in a wrestling feud, including wives and that kind of thing. Like we've seen it a million times in the last 30 years. But for Rick Rude to have Jake Roberts' wife Cheryl painted on his tights
Yeah,
when
so
he
good.
pulled them down, Unprecedented.
I love Rick Rude and his ability to get heat, and he does that so well. And
I love
that's just
Jake
such an
Roberts
asset.
here too. Their feud is underrated. They toured around the world, by the way.
Everything Jake did, like so what a third one, if you wanted to ask me, was Jake and Martel, like the blinding in the eyes. Like Jake, even though he had a high mid-carder status, like he really his genius mind, like had these angles where imagine
He
if Jake
allowed
was
his
Hogan.
wife to come in. Like
Yes.
Jake was like, "That's fine. Is that chocolate?"
Right.
But like his mind, like he was never going to be Hogan. He was never a fucking jacked testosterone steroided out. Like, but he just like his mind was always brilliant when he was on the top. Like
That's a great fucking pull.
him and Rude, like great matches together, great feud. Like imagine having your wife at ringside. Imagine Rude's whole gimmick was
By the way, Craig,
kissing
he's
women.
back with that same wife now. They divorced and they
Yes.
separated,
They're
and then
back
now that he's
together.
sober, he's back with Cheryl Roberts now. They're
Which-
together.
That's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Like
I would have liked to have seen it go all the way to Mania
Mm-hmm.
and maybe do something special. I don't know, a cage match or something. Because our work together was phenomenal,
Yes.
and nobody could see through what we were doing. But sometimes, you can be so good that it hurts you
Mm.
because the powers that be want to bring you down a notch or two because you're gaining too much ground over the other talent, and you're making it hard for them to compete with you.
So, oh my God, what a great poll! SummerSlam '88. It was Rick Rude against JYD, and Jake told him, "If you fucking wear my wife on your tights again," he didn't say fucking, obviously,
Yeah,
but he's like, "If you wear my tights, you wear my wife on your tights again, I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna take it out of your ass." And so Jake's like, "I'm not," or Rude's like, "I'm not," And so like he fought Junkyard Dog at SummerSlam '88, and he did a move on JYD, and he gets on the top rope to deliver like a Rick Rude fist from the top rope, and he rips his pants down really fast to show Roberts, and he hits it, and he does that, and Jake comes out from the back and does
Immediately.
a genius. He beats the shit out of him and clotheslines Rude, and only Rude could 360 over the top rope the way he does.
Yes.
He clotheslined him so it was amazing. The place, Madison Square Garden, was going fucking ape shit when Jake got his hand on him, and it was like, and he was mad, and the refs were all holding him back or whatever. It was so good. Like that's such a great pull, Craig. Like I
So
mean,
simple.
really, what a fucking amazing feud it was, and like people forget about that too.
I love that.
Jake,
Just-
so good.
A dude's wife on your tights. It's
Mhm.
perfect.
You guys might tell me like this is bullshit, but I really it kind of gets hidden because of other storylines that Daniel Bryan has been a part of. But I thought that the Daniel Bryan with the Wyatt family storyline was freaking dope. How he went
That was
he-
fantastic.
he went underneath. He went like total double agent on the Wyatt family for months. Like they beat the crap out of him forever and forced him to join the family in their mind. And he joined the family. He finally said, "Oh, okay, I give in, whatever. I'm part of the family." And he
And-
came out in the stupid overcoat stuff. I'm like, what? And I'm over here going like, what is this bullshit? This sucks. I hate this. And which is exactly what they wanted you to say.
And,
They wanted you
Jess,
to boo it.
this was pre-Yes Movement, right? Like
No,
this was
so Dave, I'm glad you
was.
said this because
Yeah,
one of my
thought it was.
choices was the Yes Movement, and this
Yeah.
was a part of the Yes Movement. So
It's like
he
a
beat
sub
John
story, right?
Cena.
Of the yes.
He beat John Cena at SummerSlam, and then Randy Orton cashed in the Money in the Bank and beat him right away. And
That's
the people
right.
were fucking pissed. So it helped skyrocket Daniel Bryan into that. And then they carried him into the Bray Wyatt storyline, and people were like, "Fuck you! Why the fuck are you taking him out of the world title picture? Fuck you!" But it was all just. And then after he broke away, like Dave's gonna say, from the Bray Wyatt family, that's when the Yes Movement happened. That's when WrestleMania 30 happened and all that stuff. So I'm gonna relinquish my pick to you
My bad.
because
I'm
mine
sorry.
was the Yes Movement, but yours is a smaller version of it. But it's the same
I
thing.
thought it was a subtext of the movement.
It was right in the middle of the Yes Movement because they wanted us to forget that we all love Daniel Bryan. We wanted him to be in the world title picture. So yes, it was a side thing, but it was fantastic. I'll never forget when he finally beat he took his shit off and betrayed Barry Wyatt.
He's in a
and
Hell in
they're-
a Cell or a cage, right?
Yeah,
Or is
they're
he-
talking, he's on
Yes.
top of a cage going back to the Yes movie. I remember that distinctly.
Yes, and then their match, they had a match at Royal Rumble 90 Royal Rumble 2013. No, fuck. I'm trying to think. Royal Rumble 2014. That's when they did it. And so Bray beats him or whatever in a fantastic match, and that was the Royal Rumble that he wasn't in. And Rey Mysterio came out as number 30, and they booed the shit out of Rey Mysterio.
Yes,
because
yes.
they thought it was Daniel Bryan. So it was 2014 because that was WrestleMania 30. And then from the Royal Rumble, they built him up, and then they inserted him in the Batista and Orton match, and then he won the world title.
And
That was
by the way,
2014.
not a storyline. They were truly trying to bury him.
I don't want to say they were trying to bury him, but they didn't want to go with him.
No.
And so they were, I agree with you.
The B+ player storyline came from
That's a lot of truth in that.
From them making
yes.
him a B+ player. That's where they came from. I'm going to do...
He's got notes, I can tell. It's like,
I
he's trying
do.
to pick one.
I do. Fuck. I'm going to do... I'll say this. I'm going to do Sting versus the Horseman.
Okay.
And
okay.
So one of my big things that I remember is they actually built Sting versus Flair. So at the end of '89, we all saw Future Shock or whatever. We just did a review, by the way, of Halloween Havoc '89, and they put Sting in the Horsemen, and the Horsemen were a heel faction.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Flair turned face or whatever, and then he wanted to redo the Horsemen. He was like, "What if we put Sting in it, and we're face for a minute? We're only face to accommodate Sting, and then after a while, Sting would win Starrcade '89, which was like a round robin tournament, and it was all points based, right? And so he would beat Flair versus points, and then he would get a world title shot. So then after that, Flair's like, hey, I know you won the world title shot, but you're gonna submit that shit, right? You're gonna relinquish that, right? And Sting's like, I mean, no, like I am in wrestling to fight for the world title, so you gave me a shot in '88, and I earned a shot here now in '89/90. So I want to challenge you for the world title. It's like, yeah, but you're a Horseman. So the whole storyline was they kind of put Sting in there only because they knew that he was hot, and they're just like, if he wants a world title, we're gonna be like, no, you can't really challenge Rick because the Horseman's
Horseman.
Ric Flair, and so yeah, you're gonna do something else. And Sting is like,
Your
no,
your
like,
job your job is to protect the title.
yeah,
not to
I
take the
won
title.
the round robin tournament at Starrcade '89, and I want to challenge Rick for the title. And they're like, what the fuck? So I remember at Clash of the Champions in January of '90, they brought Ole out there and Arn and Flair, and they did just this amazing fucking in-ring promo. And they were just like, no, like you will relinquish the title shot right now. And he was like, I don't want to. Like the whole reason why we're wrestlers is because we want the world title. So that makes no sense. Like, look, I love you guys, and I'm a Horseman. I'm part of you, but like I want to face Flair for the title. And they're like, nope, like that's not true. You give it up right now, or it's going to be really bad what happens to you. And Sting is like, no, I don't want to give it up. And they beat the shit out of him, like right there in the ring or whatever.
They wouldn't even
And
say, or you're no longer a Horseman, right? They didn't even do that.
no, they did say that. Like, and Ole's like, look, like, you know what? Like, here's the deal. Like, we only spared you. Like, basically, Ole said, like, we're not a face team. We're a heel team. He didn't say those terms, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
we're a bad guy team. And like, the only reason why we spared you was because Rick liked you. And you teamed with Rick last year in the Thunderdome cage match and Halloween Havoc and all that stuff. But now that you have a world title, it's all about Rick. So if you like want to take the world title, you're fucking done. And Sting's like, well, I want to take the world title. And he's like, well, you're out of here. So you have X amount of hours. It was a Clash Champion. You have 30 minutes or whatever to make, or an hour or whatever he said it was, to make your decision and get out and drop the title, or we're going to cripple you. And so like, he's like, no, like, I don't want to do that. And they beat the shit out of him. And at the end of the match, he said as well, I take the world title match. And so you're like, oh my God. Like, and Flair said it to this day, in February of 1990, before the Warrior beat Hogan, they were going to give Sting the world title at, I want to say it was Wrestle War, I think, or something like that. It was whatever their February pay-per-view was. And then at the end of the January Clash, after they betrayed Sting, when Sting ran out in the main event and climbed the cage, they pulled him down wrong, and he hit his knee wrong and fucking blew his knee out.
Oh, that's
And so
right.
That's when Sting went into he had surgery and all that stuff, and he didn't beat Flair until Great American Bash of 90, which was July of 90.
And it was
He
kind of
was supposed to
deflated at
be-
that point, right?
Sting, I bought you a little time because of what you've done.
Nah, you're too easy. The whole deal is this: you got 2 hours to make up your mind, and you're no longer a horseman. And if we ever see you again, you're not going to be quite so lucky as you are tonight. Wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. Hey, wait a minute. I want to.
Come on.
Look at this!
I tried to tell you! I bought you some time! Now do the smart thing! Smarten up! Get out of this business! Get rid of that contract! Get out of my life! You're done!
So you know what? Listen, hey, this is part 2.
That was for-
We
that
all
was
had
for you,
really
Craig.
good
That was for
offerings.
you, Craig.
Craig had a great pull in Rude and Snake and all that stuff.
It's a good
and,
one.
Dave had a really good pull in the beginning of Austin and Angle. So this is part 2, and it's freeform, and I like it. So there's going to be a part 3. We all have different.
No, there's
stories that we like.
definitely. I'm already thinking of a bunch that were like out of this world. I'm like, oh my god, you guys are sparking. up stuff
Freeform
for
is
the-
always fun. It's always fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcasts, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, can you follow us on Instagram at O.W.P 2019?
No,
Try-
I'm gonna.
O.W.P 2019. No follows.
No.
I'm gonna follow dumb
No.
stuff.
Or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. We're just Craig and
Here's
myself.
what I would
This
do
is
with Bobby Lashley. You guys.
the
should listen to
O.W.P.
me.
signing off. Have a good one.
Go fuck myself.
Whoa.